Hello, totally not Crispy and Strangersaurus. That was harder to say than I expected. I wonder who Totally Not Crispy is, because it's totally not crispy.
I think it's view. It's the only logical answer. So, we're just getting everything live here. And it looks like we're actually all ready to go. Look at that. So this submission is by Purple Black Kiwi. It was submitted 3 days ago onto the MLPDS subreddit, and we have all of 0 critiques on it. So what they're asking for is they're saying that this picture is a small representation of Twilight and her rivals. Any advice when shading and where light source should be? Pretty good question, I think. As far as where light source should be, wherever you want it to be, really. You can base your image around a light source, or you can just sort of toss it on later. Honestly, the way your picture looks at this time, a light source anywhere it can be anywhere. It could be up top corners, bottom, middle of the image, wherever you want it to be. It's all in how you're going to do the shading. Now the easiest location would be top left corner because you get the least amount of weird shading going on in Twilight. That'd at least be my opinion. How about you guys?
What I personally would do would be less easy. Like, I don't know what's up with the scale between the ponies, if that's a giant Twilight or tiny other ponies. But if you put this light source somewhere below the head level of Twilight, like using a sunset or an artificial light source, something like a fire or something, you could make Twilight appear even bigger, even more imposing, going for sort of this dramatic effect.
Fair enough. Oh, by the way, we have a new voice with us, Vital Mender. You want to say hello?
Hi.
Look at that. You have any opinion on the light source?
I mean, I agree with what you said. You can pretty much put a light source wherever you want. And that's usually what I do whenever I start shading. I just look at where the easiest place to put it with the least amount of shading would be. But I'm just lazy when it comes to shading, so.
Fair enough. Now, there can be some consideration on light source beforehand when planning out your image. Say you got a rising sun somewhere you wanted in the image, you had some nice lighting going on in the clouds, and you wanted that to be properly displayed throughout the rest of the image. Maybe you had a candle burning somewhere or some magic going. In that case, placing your light source is very critical to the entire image. But as we were saying, this picture doesn't seem to have any of those elements going on beyond Twilight's magic. So I would just put the light source anywhere. Now, Twilight's magic will be a secondary light source if you want it to be. In the show, it sometimes happens where you'll see the horn will glow and it'll actually light up an area around it. But more often than not, the horn glow is just a dim sort of light and it'll just light up just a touch of their hair. We can actually give you a demonstration of what some of this would look like. If you guys just want to start attacking this image with your pens, I believe in you. So let's assume the light source is top left for this one, just for the sake of trying to throw on some quick highlighting and shadows. Pretty sure I didn't lock all the layers.
We're gonna work on this all at the same time. I don't think this is gonna work.
I believe in you.
It's
Top
way more
left.
fun to do that, though.
Here's our light.
I'm just gonna go dark to light. Maybe I should go even darker, I don't know. I tend to go too dark though. It's really convenient that the background isn't white. That always makes shading easier. Also, I probably shouldn't... Oh wait, I can put a layer under the line work.
No, that's not something we can do in this app, unfortunately. But we really
Well,
don't need to actually fully color the image. We can just throw on image or color for where we believe the highlights should be, where the shadows should be, just for some consideration for the image.
I need to find the right color. That works, I guess. Thing is, I usually take a lot of time with shading, so doing this quickly is probably not gonna be that great.
I don't ever use a tablet, so you're doing better than I am.
Fair enough. So I do notice something wrong, different than the shading question. There is no second wing, and there is no other legs. Keep in mind, even if we're on a profile image, the legs generally don't stand perfectly military straight in a line. There should be some consideration for trying to separate them so you can show both. The only reason you do that is it gives the image a bit more depth. Something like that. Really simple to throw in behind it.
The biggest issue I have with coloring in this program is that I can't easily color pick.
Yeah.
And my shading is like 90% color picking. I actually don't draw, I just color pick, and suddenly my pictures are colored.
Also, don't forget Twilight's tail. Note, that is not the average shape of Twilight's tail. So Blast, do you want to give a quick rundown on why you've decided the shading should be on the legs like you have it?
Since the legs are three-dimensional objects and the curve of the legs... Hang on, let me get a pen. So the curve of the leg would kind of wrap around with like the center of it here. So the back side of the leg is going to have is going to be darker because the light source coming from up there is going to be darker on the back.
One thing that I'm noticing right now as I'm coloring this is that this is not the usual eye shape of Twilight, because she has these almond-shaped eyes. I mean, this might be intentional, just pointing out that they're more like this. Except maybe smaller.
Generally slightly pointier, but I blame the large round brush for that one.
And I'm just assuming that she's having this cheek there, yeah. I forgot what Twilight's eye color is. Probably something purpley too. Yeah, it's purple.
Stranger Source is saying Control is the button for color picking in this app.
Ooh, thank you.
Also, there is a color palette called Ponies that has all the pony colors in it.
It's pretty rockin'.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there's
Go ahead.
There's color palettes on the side, and you can choose pony as one of the color palettes.
Is that something that just comes with the program, or did you add that in somehow?
Just came with it.
That's pretty sweet. Something like this, except less. Because I don't know the brushes in this program, I used a very soft brush where I would usually not use a soft brush.
So Chrispy is asking for us to comment on the layout of the face, so I'm just going to throw a layer above yours and quickly do a head shape. I'll remove the layer later, but just to go with Chrispy's thoughts here.
I think it's a shame that Sunset Shimmer isn't a pony in the show, because her design is one of the best. But we basically never see her as a pony anymore.
Give it time. We still have more seasons ahead of us. Hopefully we see her in a future season. That'd be awesome. Alright, just a quick rundown of the head shapes here. So what I've done is I've thrown the little ball we use for the head, because pony heads are basketballs. They're magical like that. Unless if they're facing forward and then they're ovals. Don't listen to that though. It's a lie. Anyway, the pony head is a circle. We can often separate them into halves using these purple lines that I'll quickly do up in yellow. Why not yellow? So these lines help us point the face and lay out the locations of muzzles and ears and horns and all sorts of magic on it. So on this, if we follow the line from the middle of the head on the horizontal, it should match up at the same plane as the muzzle. So that's just a quick correction that I've done there to the muzzle. And then for the horn's supposed to be at 45 degrees of the head if we're doing a classic MLP style. So the easiest way to do that is take the top left-hand quadrant we've made here and separate it or draw a 45-degree angle through it. 45 degree of 90 will just be midway through it. Pretty easy. That will give it us the proper horn angle. Now for the ear's pretty easy. It's in the right quadrant that is formed. The base of the ear connects at the halfway mark of the head. That's the line that I just dropped down in pink. And then the rest of the ear goes up above the head to about 3/4 of the head height. If you're to separate the ear and measure it, it'll be about 3/4 of the head height. Then it comes right back down to just about halfway into the head circle we've created. You can do a little more, a little less on that, but it's all how you interpret it at that point. So pretty simple. Now, as far as where the neck connects, there's a little oddness created because you're doing this extreme angle on it, which happens in the show. But one thing you want to keep in mind is that sharp angle you created here creates almost a broken neck look for that. What you want to do is you want to actually round that out a little bit, moving to the chest. So I've laid down some baby blue from the base of the jaw, rounded out across the neck. And that'll help smooth out that separation. Now that line should be about halfway on the head, is where that neck connects to the head. And same for the connection of the back of the head, it'll connect to the halfway mark, the horizontal halfway mark, which I just circled in that baby blue again. Is that what you're hoping for, Chrispy?
While you're talking about where things connect, one of the things that I see beginners do wrong most of the time is where the muzzle connects. And it doesn't connect where you drew it, at least in the show. The easiest way to find the point where it connects in the show is draw this in the lower left quadrant. Draw this 45 degree or this middle separator, and then draw another separator in the middle between the halfway line here and the one I just drew, so here. And this is where I did that on the same layer. Also, I don't know, I think I forgot to press push to talk at some point.
Yeah, you broke out about halfway through that sentence.
Which sentence?
The talking about the 45-degree angle.
Alright, I'll try to do this again. So you put a line here in the middle between... I don't even know how to describe it. I'll just try to show it and hope it's clear. And then you put a line in the middle between this line and the one I just drew, so here. And this is where the muzzle usually starts in the show. Let me try to get a better brush for this. Because they have pretty tiny muzzles in the show. I'm doing this wrong. This is confusing because the eye position is different than it's in the show.
Just
In the
rely
show
on the
it's
head, on the lines.
in the show it's here, roughly. So it's mostly bigger, but yeah. I somehow managed to flip the picture upside down, and I don't know how I did it. How do I flip it back?
View.
It's
then
C.
rotation or flip.
Yeah, it was C. You flip it upside down with V, and you flip it you flip it horizontally with V, and you flip it upside down with C. And I constantly press V because that's my button for a pencil in Clip Studio Paint. So, yeah.
Look at us. We're learning with the artist.
I should probably put up a show reference to do this right.
It's because you're following the jaw line of the original drawing. That's the issue. You're making it push, or you're making it an underbite, where on the show it's usually in line. apologize for the thumping you might be hearing. It sounds like there's a small zoo above me. I think I might have got new tenants in the building, because before it was an old group.
Something like this. There's this great reference sheet called AMG So Much Pony. You can basically find it by putting that into Google. I'll also link it in the chat in a second. Which is where I got most of my measurements from, and it's pretty darn accurate to the way it is in the show. And so if you want to do it like they do it in the show, it's a good point to start. And in my opinion, it's always good to find out how it's done in the show, because once you understand how it's done in the show, then you can start changing things without making it look weird.
To expand on the changing things to make it not look weird is work from a source image. So say the show-based ponies. Once you have them figured out how to construct them, how to make them from the different views, start breaking it down, and at that point, sorry, not start breaking it down. At that point, when you have a firm idea on the construction, you can start changing parts of it to figure out your own style, how you want to alter it, how you want to make it more yours. And the reason you do that is because you do have that foundation now. You've understood why and how they've built it. It's a lot easier to deconstruct it, as opposed to, say, opening your engine bay and going, oh yeah, I can rip apart this engine, and 3 days later it's in parts across your driveway and you're crying in a corner because your car won't ever start again.
A rule that I learned years ago in art class, and that has helped me through so many things, is go realistic first, then stylize. Not every artist I know does not every good artist I know does this, but a lot of them do, and that's the way I like to do it. Understand the actual anatomy of the animal that your character is based on. So look at horse anatomy. I think I said this last week too. Look at actual horse anatomy and try to understand how it relates to pony anatomy. And I think there's actually a lot of great resources that shows horse skeletons and how they relate to what would be the skeletons of the ponies in the show. And once you understand where the bones are and where the muscles are, you can make things longer or make things shorter without breaking it.
Knowledge bombed. Anyway, we have a few colored ponies here. So what Blast has been doing over here, or Vito Mender in our voice, basically she's been taking our source of light, which is the top left corner, making sure everything that would be logically dropped under that source of light, so say Twilight's hat here, part of her left of the face, a little bit of the cloak, has all been draped in a highlight. Everything else has been hit with just a base color. You can go back and hit that with the shadow on the opposite side later if you want. Same thing with Sunset Shimmer here, our happy little bacon mane. It doesn't show up quite as much, mostly because of the limited color palette we're playing around with, and a tool that's more akin to using a rock than digital. But yeah, you can see that the front, the leading edge on the left is highlighted where everything else falls into a darker color. This is just the image that Chicago was talking about. It's the AMG So Much Pony. It's linked on our subreddit in our guide section. I believe it's under the exterior guide section. You'll find it labeled as AMG So Much Pony, or under the pony breakdown section.
I think it would be great if you could put that in the description of the YouTube video.
I will hopefully do that.
I will hopefully remember you if you don't.
Yes, if you remind me, I'll definitely do it. So I think that's a pretty good rundown of the basis idea of shading here, and we just gave you a quick paint over of a few things to consider on your pony from the from both the how your pony's constructed, some things to consider on that, like the wings and face, to the shading and why you shade like that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us a line on our IRC. We're on Freenode. We're MLP Drawing School, or you can, throw us messages in our chat on our weekly streams, or even just comment on the post whenever it comes up. If anyone else have anything to say? Unanimous silence means we move on. If I can get everyone just to leave the draw pile so I can open up the next one, which I believe is Chicago's. Look at this horse. Alright, new session is hosted. Feel free to hop in. We didn't miss a joint on the front leg. Don't listen to him. No, he's right. There's a joint on the front leg that might want to be considered. One thing at a time, though. Stranger source. We ain't perfect.
That's also in the AMG so much pony thing. I mean, technically, the upper joint could have been the elbow joint, and then we would only miss the shoulder joint, which is inside, like, isn't really visible anyway, but it's important to consider it for a lot of leg positions.
Yeah.
Just because it's not part of the leg in that sense doesn't mean that that it's not important. Kind of like how we have a joint in the thumb that isn't part of the thumb, but a big part of its movability.
All right. So
this is the picture I submitted last week, except that it's finished now.
Damn fine job. What did we go over last week on this picture, just as a refresher? There was questions about the body ratios and I believe the feet size, along with some questions on the hands in the pockets about how making it more 3D.
Yeah, I increased the foot size and I made some adjustments around the pockets so you can actually see some things inside there.
It's looking fine. So what are you looking for as far as critique here? Some critique on the shading?
I don't know.
All right.
The thing is, my goal in this drawing was to really push myself and do it as best as I can, which is something that I haven't really done in a very, very long time. So it's very hard to tell for me what's wrong with this picture because it's just better than anything I've done before. So I'm basically asking what is wrong with it, because it's not perfect. It never is, so there has to be something wrong with it, something that I can work on, so I'm asking.
Just give me a moment here. So Scootaloo itself is wonderful. I'm not seeing many issues with it. There's a few little specks of shading and light that could be corrected with just a little smoothing and a little blending. But beyond that, she's wonderful. You've done a great job with her.
Thank you.
And what I mean by the smoothing areas, like on the hair, if you wanted to give it a more plasticky feel, actually I wouldn't do that, but on the face definitely, just hit it with a little smoothing, blending. Try and see if you can stop the jittery that happens in your shading style, because you have a lot of these very bold highlights and drop shadows, but then when you try to feather it a little more, it looks like you just went assorted levels of hardness, which is really cool. But one of the things you could do just to enhance that a little bit more is just smooth it, smooth the difference, because not all shadows have to be hard shadows. Unless, of course, you're going for complete shell shading, and then don't listen to me.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out because, like, I don't know. Yeah, sure.
So if you want to just do a quick experiment, you got a bright source of light by you?
What?
You got a bright source of light by you, like an overhead light or something?
I have a flashlight somewhere. Found it.
All right. So take the flashlight and shine it on your hand. Be about a meter away from your hand, if you can. If not, half a meter will be fine.
I can, but then I can't push my push to talk button anymore.
All right. Just consider what I'm saying, and then try and respond. So if you shine it at your hand sideways, so you're trying to cast as large a shadow across your hand, look at how the light plays across it. Is the edges defined on your hand smooth, or are they soft? Where do they form a smooth line, and where do they form a soft line? Move the light source further away from your hand and then see how it plays on it. Do the lines smooth out a little bit more, or is it still a solid edge across the curvature of your hand where that shadow's actually sitting? And now we wait for a response.
I'm afraid I don't follow. What am I looking for?
Shine the light on your hand so you can see both the highlight that's formed and the shadow. All right, you can see that?
Yes.
Now move your hand further away from the light and closer to the light. See how it plays with the shadow. And not just the length of the shadow, but also the intensity and the edges that are formed on it. So across your hand, on a direct light source like a flashlight, it's going to be a very hard edge that should be forming. And the reason is because a flashlight's a very small but intense light source, and it doesn't leave much room for a smoothing that you'd get off of a larger light source like an overhead light or the sun. Do you see that? What I mean?
Yes.
So if in this case you have a more unintense light, well, the sun's very intense, but it's not as directed. It's a very large object that's shining across us. So Scootaloo
It's getting scattered by the atmosphere.
Exactly. It creates a nice diffusing pattern, and that's why we get a lot of soft lights from the environment. So that's why I would say try and smooth out some of the shading or some of the shadows that are formed around the face. If you leave the rougher shadows in the hair, it actually sort of gives it that hair-like separation where it's not a solid chunk of Barbie plastic.
And I doubt either of you can really relate to this, but shading, to me, I kind of look at it the same way I do putting on makeup. You don't want to look like you're wearing makeup if you are. You want to smooth it out so that it looks like it just naturally changes color, if you understand what I'm saying. You don't want to have just like makeup on one part of your face and then not on your on another part, because then you can tell there's like a distinct change in color. And so when you shade, you kind of want to do it the same way. You want to have a nice blending of the colors to make it smooth.
I don't know, but this seems so much the opposite to what View told me, which is like a big basis for the way I shade, that hard edges are way more important than soft and smoothing. And actually, he told me that my shading is too smooth, so I started to make it harder. And this is where how I got where it is right now. And yeah.
And I understand what View's trying to say. And the reason he's saying those hard edges is because things are dropping a shadow on it from a very short distance. So if you have this is going to be hard with 3 hands because you don't have 3 hands. Place the flashlight on the table, shine it across the table, place your hand on the table a distance away from the light, and then grab something else to put in front of your hand to sort of cast a shadow onto that. See how hard that shadow is cast onto it. So that's what he's talking about, your hard shadow. So on your drawing, we have the hard drop shadow formed around the hair. There's to some extent a hard drop shadow formed from the separation on the shirts to the arms.
Pretty sure he wasn't talking about drop shadows, though, because we weren't talking about drop shadows.
Without he was telling, I'm not sure what he was talking about then.
Basically, he told me that it's perfectly possible to shade with just a hard brush. And, by the way, this is shaded just with a hard brush. I don't think I used a soft brush for anything but the fog. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, because shadows aren't gradients. Shadows are pretty, I don't know, direct. There is this, like if you look at your hand, there are transitions, but most of the time it's a pretty fast transition from light to dark.
I want you to experiment with this some more. Go outside. Shoot, you live in another place, and it's always cloudy, so I hear. Well, cloudy's good because it creates a softer light anyway. Go outside and experiment with the light a bit more. Maybe grab a camera phone if you have it and take a few pictures for references. See when the different light forms, because I'm no master of it, but this is just my observations based off photography. How to cast different lights and different shadows on people, and this is one of the methods: is create a large source of light, such as the sun, and it will cause a softer shadow or softer light across people. Now, objects on them, such as hair, will cause a hard light or hard shadow to drop on their faces, but that's fine because that can be worked around. That's why you'd use like a light bouncing mat, something that's highly reflective, so you can bounce a secondary light source onto them to try and cover up some of those shadows. Anyway, the gist is light's complicated. There's a lot of silence here. We also don't have any other pieces to critique. Anyone have a...
Well, all I remember is you saying that using soft brushes for most of your shading is a bad idea because it looks unrealistic and stuff like that. And I feel like already I felt like my process is basically right now, although I will probably change that again, because it helps me with the absolute lights and the absolute darks. I start with the darks, and then I block in the lights in a cell shading kind of way, and then I start smoothing out the transitions, at least in places that aren't cast shadows, uh, in which case I usually either don't smooth them out at all or just very slightly, like I did with the hair. Um, but I already felt when I was doing that the more I was smoothing it out, the less convincing the shadow looked.
Fair enough. Now, I don't have an example of how much you are shading it or smoothing it out. Do you happen to have a work in progress picture of those?
Let me see.
Chrispy
What?
and Blast, you want to post an image each then?
What do you want to see?
Do you have a work in progress of the ones you were saying that was the no-no to shading?
I mean, I don't have a picture where I smoothed it out too much, because why would I save those? If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Alright then.
I mean, there's places where I obviously see that I did it too little. For example, on her left arm, on the jacket, there's just this very lonely little line sitting around being not blended in at all. I can see that's an issue, but I feel like it would lose a lot of definition by smoothing it out even more.
But it doesn't have to. You don't have to try and make it blend to the same color. The only reason I ever smooth the images is to create a gradient between it. So between your lightest and blackest or darkest, they should all still be there. It's just that questioning area between where you're trying to create a smoother gradient. And it does sometimes give it a plasticky look. Trying to think of the artist, Pony X Killer. They're a good example of very smooth gradients.
Chrispy entered channel.
I think that's the name.
Chrispy is now muted.
Looks like they removed all their art.
No, it's just all in the scraps. I see a lot of hard edges. Because when you said Pony Killer X, the first thing I thought of was hard edges, you know?
Alright, here's the derpy one. One sec. Bah. Try that link.
Uh-huh.
There we go. That took long enough to click over. So if you look at the areas like the legs, the hips, the muzzle, soft gradients, or softer lighting where it's going to on a smoother gradient towards from light to dark, but then they have the hard shadows such as the tail, the drop shadow that's formed there. The mane has a drop shadow. The head mane even has one. It's not so evident around the bottom or around the left side of it, but around the right side just before the ear you can even see a very hard drop shadow. That's what I mean by smooth gradient. Or smoothing it out.
Chrispy is now unmuted.
Makes a little more sense.
I guess.
Alright.
Though I do have to figure out how to even do that.
You're using Photoshop,
Clip Studio Paint.
Does it have a watercolor brush?
Yes, that's the brush I used. It's a hard brush.
But it should have a blending option.
It has a blend tool.
And
Also
there's-
has an airbrush.
Airbrush can get a little wonky.
Yeah, but the thing with the airbrush, I used to hate the airbrush because I was thinking of Photoshop type airbrushes, but I've experimented a bit with it in my newer pictures, and it doesn't work like most airbrushes, so it might actually be usable.
Hello.
Hey, Chrispy.
I can be heard. Great. Is that loud enough or is that alright?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Alright, I thought it'd be easier to actually speak through the mumble rather than through the chat.
Alright.
So here I am. But yeah, well that's my link in the chat there. Whenever everybody feels like getting around it.
Alright, we'll hop to that one as soon as we're satisfied on Chicago's piece here.
Yeah, I
worries.
think I've held up the queue enough.
Alright.
Won't worry about it.
Great piece.
Also,
I think your next area you should be approaching is because you have the shape down. Your shading's looking wonderful. Just more shading, more time. Just do it more often, right? The more you do it, the better you'll get, kind of thing. 1,000 drawings. Maybe it's time to start working on the backgrounds, because your background has some elements in it, like a little grass and 2 trees. Maybe time to kick your backgrounds up to the next notch. Maybe do some scenery studies.
originally the background didn't have any trees. And then I thought, this needs a happy little tree. And then I drew a happy little tree, and then I heard Bob Ross say to me in my head, but this little tree needs a little happy little friend. So I gave him a happy little friend.
Oh, jeez.
So he isn't so alone.
I approve of the happy little friends. If I can get
Happy
everyone
tree
to hop
friends.
out of the draw pile, that'd be great. So we can open up the next one.
Though it is getting pretty late where I am, and I have a lot of stuff to do tomorrow, so I think I'm gonna have to leave now.
Alright.
Sorry.
That's been great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for critiquing my art.
We do our best, even though we might be wrong.
There is no wrong.
Pretty sure there is. I mean, this one time, I told someone to follow. No, we aren't going there. Drink the punch. Anyway.
Alright, see ya.
See you.
Alright, see you, Chicago.
Chico disconnected.
I like how he
well-
pronounces his name.
I honestly don't know how I'm meant to say it.
I was told not Chicago. And last stream he did go over how to pronounce it, and I'm pretty sure I'd go back to pronouncing it wrong.
Well, I have the excuse I wasn't here.
Fair enough. Go watch the last stream.
Yeah, I probably should. As I haven't actually been on YouTube in ages, so I've got that excuse as well.
You're missing
I'm
so
just full
much
of excuses today. I
So
am
much
actually.
And there's like Steven Universe shorts too. Come on, man.
I don't think I've ever even watched Steven Universe.
Pick that shit up during the hiatus. You'll love it.
I actually meant to do it whenever Grant started doing his art on it, but just literally never got around to it.
Fair enough. Well, now
But,
you have a reason to do
anyway,
it, because Living Dead says do it.
All right, I will do it then.
Sweet.
But yes, with regards to this, first off the bat, I know I've done the back legs wrong. I know I haven't kept the hooves proportional. so I'm gonna headbang off the desk with regards to that. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
So both the hooves part and the start of it, right? Yes.
I didn't actually think about the start of it. I just was looking purely at the hooves.
All right. The hip part of it, because where that hawk forms, and for anyone who doesn't know what the hawk is the actual name of this weird back part of the leg. This thing that I just highlighted in crimson. Apparently you can highlight in crimson. That's called the hawk, and it's generally the thinnest part of the back leg. There you go. Now you're learning words too.
I'm very familiar with horses. My family's very into them themselves. And like, one of my mother's got like 13 of the beasts.
Holy cow. So
Yeah.
I'm going over to your house, right?
I'm the oddball of the family. I'm not into actual real life horses.
I'm only into small adorable ones.
Ones that I don't have to go out and get mucky over, yes.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, with regards to this, the reason actually I drew this was actually a result of the last time I got critiqued, was because the main comment you guys had was the shape of the head. Oh, and then, well, that's what I took away from it anyway. Pretty sure there was a couple of options in, I think it was.
By the way, feel free to hop in the draw pile if you want. The new session is up.
Well, my tablet's not currently hooked up. I'm actually sketching out an Applejack right now.
Sweet.
So I'm trying. I was lying there last night thinking, right, I've got to think of an idea of something to draw, and I thought of something, but I need to practice before I can actually put it together.
Fair enough. All right, I have a few questions here before we approach this one, or before I approach this one. Your wing placement. What's up with that, bro?
Okay, I'll throw my hands up again. That is, I mean, I need to move that another inch to the left so it's not coming out of a rim cage, it's actually coming off the shoulder.
And up, right? Up. We're going up. Because they're attached to the back, not the sides. Up.
I suppose they're coming across the back of the neck rather than out of the shoulders. Which, yes, I agree with this.
Bam. Easy way of doing that is where your back legs are and where the neck ends. It creates a line between it. Blah, blah, blah. Or, sorry, not back legs are. Front legs. Silly ponies. Tricks for kids. There's this line right between here. Your wings should be sitting somewhere around that. Should be able to, like, hug it. It'll also form in those circles. Look at that. The union of the circles is where the wings sort of hang around.
Yes. I can see what you mean. But, yes, I really need to pay attention to that, because I honestly did not see that before you literally said those words.
Fair. That's why you're here, though, right? Another set of eyes.
Exactly. I feel I could have pushed the shading a bit further out on this one here.
It looks darker. You're doing that all with a graphite pencil, right? And then smudging to shade it?
Yeah. I'm using the 2B and a 2H. And then a blending stub or two.
Cool. Traditional's fun.
You don't have to worry about this getting tablets to work and SAI crashing with traditional.
It's true, but you do have to worry about being left-handed and smudging your entire image.
Yes, yeah, that would be an issue. Well, stop myself smudging. I always use like a wee piece of like, you know, like your Xbox boxes, like game boxes. You get those we use as pamphlets advertising something you've never heard about and never want to hear about again.
Yeah.
I use those to stop myself smudging.
You should move to America. In North America, we get those in the mail.
Yeah. I was actually meant to move to America last year, but it never happened.
Well, next year or this year, you should just move there. this year being 2016 in the next few days. You should move there so you can join us at BronyCon. We'll be at BronyCon. I don't think we have a panel this year. I don't think anyone volunteered to do that.
Oh, no, I was actually, I promised Arclight that I would look into going to BronyCon this year.
Sweet.
So I really have to investigate that. After Callie came over and visited me, I have to at least return the effort.
You should just hop on the same plane with Kelly.
The funny thing is, we would probably actually be getting the same flight. It depends if he's going straight after Galacon this year, though.
I
Or
thought,
is he even going this year?
yeah, I thought he said he wanted to go again this year, and he was looking at maybe doing a connecting flight through Canada.
That's pretty cool.
All right, so I see Blast working on the cheek here. I completely agree. The cheek's a little high. The nice bubbly cheek you have off to the side. But also this tail. The tail bugs me. The reason is because your pony is now pooping out a tail.
Yes.
The easiest way to
Yes.
avoid that is when you draw in that circles, there's going to be a spine that moves across the top of that. Even if you aren't drawing in the circles, there's a spine that moves across the top of the body, and it sits right against the surface of the back. Your tail is actually formed off the butt end of that spine, just like a human's. We have these little, on the bottom of our spine, there once upon a time might have been a tail hanging around there.
It's called the coccyx.
Thank you, the coccyx. It's even got a funny name. It's where that tail comes out of. So if you draw it up on the top above the ridge of the butt, voila, problem solved. It's no longer pooping out of the butt.
I say that's something I really have to keep an eye on because it seems to be becoming a common thing in my drawings. Now I'm looking through back the movie sketchpad here.
Unless
Well,
if
I
you
need
want
to
it to be
keep-
part of your style, I would suggest keeping an eye on it. And even if you wanted to keep it as part of your style, I'd suggest keeping an eye on it because you don't want that tail migrating too far down.
Yeah, it's not, honestly, it's not intended. So it's not, I really need to keep an eye on that.
Sweet. This is why I like people in the chat talking with us, because we can like bounce off words.
Words are kind of useful.
So I hear. I notice you haven't gone full derp with Derpy. You like the
Yeah.
lesser derp?
I do. Whenever she's trying to focus on something I would presume is closer, I prefer less of a derp. I've never been really much fond of the whole, well, clumsy derpy idea.
But it's adorable.
That it is, but. Eh.
Alright, just one moment.
How do you people draw with these tablets?
Gypsy magic mostly, and buying Cintiqs. Or the Huon equivalent, which is like a third of the price. No, but it's the same way, it's sort of the same disconnect you get for typing. You aren't directly throwing words on a screen like you were with a pen, or, I mean, like a pen and paper. You aren't directly putting it there. It's a separation between eyes and hands. You aren't actively, well, touch typers aren't actively looking at their fingers to type. You just get used to doing it over time. So what Blast is laying down here, she's putting down a skeleton for your face. Just trying to work out the construction lines. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. On the same page.
She's used a fair few more than I did.
Don't be scared of construction lines. They help you keep things constructed. Sane.
I do use them, but not to the same extent. Like, as I said, the last stream I was talking to you guys in, which was I believe one of the first ones, a couple of weeks ago now anyway. I was saying to Ali about the line to define the circumference and the radius, wasn't it? Yeah, I think that's it. But anyway, I use what, 2 lines? Yeah, words failing me.
There's a lot of quiet right now in the air. Let's watch his blast. Oh, no, she changed her name in the chat. Win. It's now Vito Mender.
Vital.
No, definitely Vito.
Wait, Beetle?
Definitely Vito.
Copper's watching, by the way.
Hi, Copper.
I'm not watching, I'm something.
He's just here. He's just everywhere.
That's a horrifying thought.
Hey, if I was on this, then I would not be working in IT.
Fair enough. It's what Vital Mender. Anyway, she's laid down wonderful construction lines here. You can see that she's corrected your cheek by lowering it, which makes a lot more sense to the angle you had the head if you're to line your eyes. Unless if somehow she's like winking with one side. Was that your goal, to make her wink?
I would love to say yes, but no.
Alright. We've caught you in your lie.
Never.
Honestly though, adorable ponies as ever. Any thoughts on how you might actually start expanding your images? Because I see you do a lot of just character shots, not much action,
Yeah.
generally just standing characters.
Yeah, this is generally me being, well, not adventurous enough, to put it one way. Trying to expand my portfolio. But yes, no, I really should. One thing I was actually planning to do with this piece and trying to plan out here is actually get a few more objects involved in the image. Meaning, I'd like the pony itself to be interacting with, say, well, I know it's very simple, but like a table and a couple of objects on the table.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's small steps.
Something that I would say is down here on the hooves, you have to make sure that you keep them level unless you're trying to make her stand on a hill. Is she standing on a hill?
I think it's just naturally the way I draw. I tend to not put things level.
No, that's fine. I just
Yeah,
wanted to make
bad
sure I
habits.
wasn't. I just wanted to
Oh,
make sure I
bad
didn't
habits.
like say a bunch of stuff and you're like, oh, well, she's just standing on a hill, and then I sound dumb. But anyway,
What, no, I'm not, I'm not that good.
no, it helps if you just like draw like a little line under here whenever you start, and that's something that I usually do. Is I'll just draw a line across the ground, and then I'll just kind of base my hooves there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Definitely.
More construction lines. Some people even use a construction grid for that, because then you can place all 4 hooves on the same spacing.
Grids are complicated.
I know, it involves a few
Yeah.
extra lines. It's horrible. I do have another question about the tail. It's massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Golden life to have a massive tail? Or
I've always been fond of drawing them with bigger tails for some odd, unapparent reason.
fair enough. Can I try and push you to do less massive tails? You can still have a heck of a lot of shape to it, but if we're to take the curve and bring it back, it's going to come to a, I don't know, saner shape. It's not going to be like umbrellaing out the back so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that.
It's your choice. I mean, it's still your drawing at the end of the day.
Oh, well, no, I'm totally open for inputs. That's why I'm here.
No, just cover your ears and eyes and go, nah, 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 nah. I can't hear you.
Just know every little bit of input is extremely helpful, and I appreciate it all.
I noticed Vital stopped drawing. You don't have anything else to say, do you?
Not that I can think of right now.
I mean, this is the front legs are classic Chrispy. They're sort of like a water balloon hanging.
It reminds me of Gren's anvil hooves.
To a lot lesser extent, less stuff
Yeah.
by bead.
Less anvil and more like round.
Yeah. They aren't bad, they're just different. Might be a decent consideration to try and keep a slightly evener shape between the start of the leg and the end hoof. But I mean, that's up to style if you want. It's not a bad shape considering how large you make your head in comparison to the rest of the pony. It sort of evens it out. Because your style does end up being slightly more chibi-like. Because you got very small features such as the nose, massive eyes, even larger so than the show, and a head that's even larger than the show often does. Except for on the, like the fillies and colts. Or, yes, the small ponies.
But overall, it's like super adorable.
Super adorable.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, well, yeah. Words are failing me. But yes, no, I will definitely keep an eye on trying to make those legs look a bit more uniform with regards to consistent shape. One thing I noticed, the front rear leg, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Her front right leg is convex, whereas the front left leg is concave at the same point, which is one thing I want to keep an eye on. One leg's going in while the other one's going out, so it looks a bit odd.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah.
All right then. If I can get everyone to back out of the draw pile, I will open up the next one, which is Vital Menders.
Well, I'll just say thanks very much for the input. Much appreciated.
You know where to find us, considering you're mostly often always hanging around in the IRC anyway.
Never see me there.
Oh, well then, you should join our IRC.
It's an illusion.
Alright, feel free to hop into the next draw pile. So what we have here is Vital Mender's OC. It seems to be drinking cider. Is this reminiscence of the other night?
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm seeing a wide stance on the hooves, like very wide on the back ones compared to the front, sort of playful pounce kind of thing. The body, it seems pretty like straight. There's no curve towards the left or right, although it might be slightly more pony side right than left. That seems about accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Really like the floofy butt, the floofy tail and hair. Please tell me yours has got that floofy over time.
It's quite floofy. You can ask Copper.
Do we get to see it at next BronyCon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ask me what?
How floofy is her hair?
It's getting there.
You need to floof it more. Floof it in her sleep.
What?
Just gonna slowly put rollers into her hair and let it floof up.
I can curl it before I go.
Just be in a quick battle with Aliclaw.
Yeah.
Wonder if there's any way to make this image darker. Does it have my tools? No, it doesn't.
Do I need to take a better picture of it?
Nah, it's fine. We get the gist. I was hoping there was a hue selection, because then we can just turn it to the darker hue, and the lines pop a lot more. So one thing I'm noticing is the front left from the pony view, that hoof, it seems to be quite significantly smaller than the front right one. Now I understand we're looking at it on a bit of an angle, but I would still consider just moving it back. Where's the color I can select? It's not an eraser. No, that's a little bit too much. Yeah. So because we are looking at it on a bit of an angle, as you've indicated, we're going to be seeing a little more of the front side. So just a slightly wider or larger looking hoof would just aid that sight a bit more.
Okay.
Question about your lower jaws. Do you do lower jaws, or are you more of the style where they're like retractable into the head? Much more like the MLP style.
It really just depends on what I'm doing at the time. I kind of flip-flop back and forth. It's terrible. I'm really inconsistent.
So the reason I ask this is because your pony has no jaw. So if I have to zoom in here, just giving it a little highlight, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So because the mouth is open, if you're to give it a little solid jaw, even just something to poke out of the bottom, something like that, you don't even need to curve all the way up to meet the rest of the mouth. It just gives the viewer a little better idea of where that bottom of the jaw is starting.
Okay.
Your horn angle's a little off. It's very hard to do a horn angle on anything but 90 degree, like a profile view. Mostly because you have to start drawing in 3D space to figure out angles.
My horns are almost always wrong.
Fair enough.
So yeah, if you can help me with that, I'd be more than happy.
Alright, so let me just throw on some ink here and we'll do this. Alright, so that head circle's slightly off of your head circle, but we'll just use it as a base anyway. So how I do, or how I keep the horn in line for doing any other angle but profile, is I'll draw the separating lines, the bisecting lines, so our horizontal and vertical lines. And then I'll also draw in the horizontal that'd be at the 90, like the next section. So every place is now, instead of just being separated into 4 quadrants, the head's separated into the possible 8 quadrants. which would be forward and back of it, sort of visually separated. So now we have where your ear starts on the side here, behind this line. I'll throw red color on what I'm talking about. This line. So the ear would start behind there, and then we have the line for where everything sits on the front of the face, which is this highlighted green line. So the way I do the 90 degree off, or the 45 degrees off of this, is because we have that front line, we can draw from the top of it all the way, splitting the circle directly in half. This will give us what we're supposed to base that 45 degrees off of. And then if we follow from the front of this circle to the back of it, to where the back of the head would be, we now create a line separating through it in 3D space. You see how that sort of worked?
Fancy.
And off of that, we can connect from the center of that to about 45 degrees. I'll do this in a lighter blue. And now we have where the horn would sit. Directly center of the head. We have the angle it can be based at. And with that little bit of math, I guess, yeah, we're going to say math or geometry, drafting, I don't know what you want to call it. We have a horn.
Awesome.
Skills, yo. Unfortunately, of course, my circle's not actually placed over your head circle properly. It should be down slightly to the left of the image, because then it matches up with your ear placement and the rest of the cheek. But it gets the idea across of what I was trying to talk about. Beyond that, your picture is wonderful. I really like the ear shape you're giving them, the bell shape where it's large. You can see the larger trailing edge. Gotta get off this layer. If you close out a layer 3, you'll see what I'm talking about. This leading edge here with the inside, because you make it wider, it gives the impression of more of a bell shape inside the ear as opposed to flat, I don't know, ear. I don't know how to quite describe it. It gives it more shape along the head. I don't see much more that I could suggest changing on here. I mean, we can try and improve. No, I got nothing. Anyone?
What about the forelegs? I'm just wondering. It just looks a little. It looks odd to me for some reason.
Oh, man. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. One sec.
Yeah, they kind of bother me too.
So in placing your front legs, I see where we went wrong here. Your body is sort of going on an angle like. One sec. Yeah, like yo. That matches the head. Your head slightly turned. Anyway, if you look at your leg placement based on where the direction of the body is, your pony's front right leg, the arm where it's connected, the shoulder arm joint, whatever you want to call it on a pony, they actually are differing a little bit. Where, how can I draw this sanely? I'll just draw a new line. I would move it back. The reasoning behind that is because instead of placing the arms at the front of the chest, you actually want them along the side of that curve towards about if you're to sort of imagine it like the head circle where we bisected all the lines, I'd want to place it somewhere around the halfway mark of the front quadrant. See? Halfway. Makes sense?
Yep.
So if you move back, the other arm also makes sense in placement to that. It just looks like it's leaned forward more as opposed to the other arm, which is sitting upright, which makes sense for a drunk pony. Can't keep upright sanely.
Can the forelegs actually bend like that? That's the other thing I was wondering.
Horses are weird in MLP. They do things that horses can't do in real life. This is something horses can't do in real life. They actually bend the legs the other way. My father had to prove this to me. He's like, yeah, a horse can never do that. And I'm like, no, but the MLP, it's fine. They do it. It's like, no, look at these horses. They can't do this. But cartoon horses.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we get the little disconnect. But I mean, hey, it's a cartoon horse. It can bend whichever way it wants.
Did he actually take you out to a pasture with a bunch of horses and pick a horse's foreleg and say, "Here's how this works"?
No, he showed me a bunch of YouTube videos of it, of horses trying to sit
I
down.
will see. That's nowhere near as interesting as the other story. Damn.
I'm sorry, we don't have too many pastures in the middle of the city.
Fair enough.
Although it would be very amusing to watch him try and get a horse to sit down in front of you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
As Chrispy could probably attest, they tend not to do that. I mean, you can train them. You can train them to do the bow and whatever the other thing is. I forget their fancy names for it for the competitions.
I kind of zoned out there. I heard my name.
Yeah, we're talking about actual horses now and how their legs work.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is about them bending the other way and not bending like in the drawing there.
Yeah.
Yes. No, whenever they're lying down, they tend to actually fold their forelegs underneath them. They do this, it be true.
There we go. A man with 15 horses says so. 12, 15,
Well,
how many was it?
Well, it's between 13 and 14 at the moment. I don't know.
Do you have
I
like
don't...
half a horse or something?
Those
I
are
wonder.
called ponies.
You guys are ridiculous. So I got nothing else to say about this picture. Are you going to try and approach it with a little shading, or are you just going to leave it as is?
I'll color and shade it later.
Sweet. Are you going to use the horn as a light source?
Probably, but maybe.
Get real fancy.
You can do it.
I really want to see a pony use their horn to open a bottle. Like just some pony go up to them and just open it off the top like a bottle opener.
Use one of the little ridges.
So unless if anyone else has any art to critique. Anyone? Looking at you, chat. We have a new person, Art Hobbit. Do you have any art you're looking to be critiqued?
If nobody else does, I always have more art that can be critiqued. I just want to give somebody else a chance. I have so much crappy art. So
I've got art right here I'm doing now if anybody's wanting to critique it. If we're stuck.
We can do that. Ooh, he does like actual non-pony art. I'm seeing humans and landscapes and an old man in cosplay. And oil paintings. Ooh. I don't know what you're actually looking for as far as critique in those. Any in particular you want critique from? Feel free to throw links into the chat or directly at my face via carrier pigeon. So much quiet.
Are we wanting to go through the sub and find bits to critique in there, or are we just doing strictly on submissions only?
I grabbed all the submissions that didn't appear to have any critique already.
Ah, okay.
Not including vital menders, sorry, not vital. I'll throw a link to yours later.
I can have you crit my first attempt at using a tablet. It was terrible.
Sure, let's see this.
So bad.
Any other links?
So bad.
Channel, vital_mender, link to sta.sh.
The worst part is I can look at it and say, like, I know these things are wrong, but I can't fix them because I can't tablet.
Just can't tablet. Which tablet are you using, by the way?
I don't know, this
It's a
old
little
one of
bamboo.
Copper's.
Is it a Bamboo Fun, or which size is it?
I don't know. It's like
Flip it out.
it's like the size of a pencil.
So it's the 4x3 one?
Hold on. I used. What is that? Damn it! I can't think of the. I've got a model number, but that's about it.
Do you have a ruler?
Well, how long is a pencil?
Is it sharpened?
Oh wait, we do have a ruler. It is 8 inches by 7 inches.
Oh, so
I'm not
it's
sure what that is in Canadian though.
in Canadian. No, they do all their sizes in inches for that, or at least the base sizes. So then that's the medium. That's not bad at all. So this is your first attempt at art on a tablet, eh?
Yeah, it was scary.
Very sketchy. Very likely because you can't see what you're drawing directly. That disconnect is throwing you off, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Have you done the circle drawings before?
The what?
Open up next time you have your tablet out and you're feeling a little bored, open up a blank image and just start drawing circles over and over and over again, making sure they aren't overlapping. Your goal is to try and, in one stroke, do a decent enough circle for yourself. The reason is you're training your hand movements to meet with your eye movements. So your hand is matching the eye, what you're seeing.
I can do that with a pencil.
Right, but the tablet is a different beast altogether.
Yeah, I realize that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks so similar. The little stylus thing looks just like a pen. Doesn't work the same though.
Did you ever get the pressure sensor?
Alright then. It got really quiet, And I don't know if you're actually looking for proportion critique in this, because that's what's really off on this one, beyond your approach on how to use the tablet. But
Yeah, I know there's proportion problems. I can't tablet. So drawing circles is good exercise.
fair enough. I would just try and draw try a few mental exercises with the tablet. Even those draw the lines through the puzzle ones where you're trying to get to the end without ever touching lines.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very good for tablets to try and train up the motor reflexes for lines.
Okay. You're more than welcome to crit whatever you want on it. I don't care.
Proportions, head to body, it's off. If you'd enlarge the head, it would match the legs a bit more. You'd be inflating about 30%. The body's just too long itself. You'd have to shrink that about 30% that you just inflated to its head. And voila, you have a pony. Oh, and somehow buff all those lines down to a sane line.
Yeah.
Inking stage. Any other pieces that people would like critiqued? If not, we can open up a blank drawing and we could do a group drawing again. If people are bored, that is.
Copper can probably find something. He said he might have something to critique. One of his computer arts. People with your digital stuff.
Did you?
Confusing.
It's last casting call. I think we're waiting on CopperCore to
Channel,
submit a chunk of art.
Vital_Mender, link to fab.
He
Speak
said
I vectored that one that she just linked. I just didn't get around to posting it, and then she found the original quicker.
Alright, so are you looking for the coloring to be critiqued or the vectoring?
the pony.
Well, right, but the final product one. Are you looking for his vector to be critiqued or your colored
Yeah,
one?
I don't know. He just wanted me to link this
Hold
one.
on.
Alright.
Uploading, hang tight.
We can wait. I got all the time in the world. Don't have to work till tomorrow. I really hope the stream doesn't end up going for another 12 hours. I mean, I'd be impressed, really. I think Strangosaurus is the only one with that type of stamina, because he's sort of a saurus.
Channel,
There you go.
Vital_Mender, link to i.img or .com.
Basically, I vectored over and then I was going to start seeing what I could fix because vectors have that unique ability. You can easily manipulate them. But basically, I know the anatomy on the head is way off, and I'm sure there's some other issues.
All right. So the head to leg proportions, are you trying to do like a taller style? Or are you still trying to stick with the standard MLP FIM style?
Well, when I do vectors, I make it look like show style, but I try to improve it so that you don't see the little annoying thing that bugs everybody about show style.
I don't.
That is pretty.
It's rushed. I try to basically look at everybody else and get crit and try to turn it into something that it's still a show style vector, but it looks better. Like things like, you know how they get really lazy with the flank and the leg and they just have that little line curling up on their belly instead of actually defining it? Things like that.
All right. But the question still remains, the proportions, are you trying to stick with their standard proportions, or are you skewing them?
Trying to stick with standard more or less. I did think a Twilight was a little taller. That's probably too tall, might be part of the issue as well.
The problem is that I tend to kind of skew the proportions when I'm doing my sketches, and then whenever he tries to vector my art, he tries to move it back to show style, and that's where we get the problems.
Ah. So in this one, the head ratio, where it's one head to one leg, that's off. So if anyone's wondering what I'm talking about with this ratio, generally the ratio goes the head circle. Let me draw that up real quick. Yeah, that horrible circle, that's more of an oval. One head circle. And can I move this around? Where's my move tool? I don't have a move tool. Well, that's fun. Yeah. Thanks, Vital. So the head to body to leg, there's a ratio that goes along that. The head is your general sizing here. So one head, the legs will be one head tall, and then the body is generally about 3/4 tall, where the rump is actually going to be one full head tall again anyway. The reason they make the body slightly smaller is to accommodate the neck and not make it look as awkward as 1:1:1. So in this case, if we're to take the head ratio and measure it real quickly and compare that to the legs, we can see that there's about 20% to 30% extra foot hanging around here. Now that ratio also holds together for the body length, but in a different way. The body is made up of two circles that are one slightly smaller than the head. It's about 30% or 3/4 the head size. And then the back circle is about 5/8 or no 7/8. It's just slightly smaller than a head. Anyway, if you're to combine those, you'll get just about 1 1/3 body length long, or head length long. And in this case, we're looking at about 1 1/2. I just suggest shortening it up if you're going for standard MLP lengths. The reason is because then it's all cute and adorable and small and squishy. Like the tail looks great. It's sanely sized. Twilight's tail doesn't quite hit the ground, but just hangs around. Mane's fine. The same as the front of the mane. It's fine. The horn suffers under the same horn defeatitis. The horn issue that the last horn had can be corrected in the same method of drawing out that 3D image and trying to figure out the horn angle off of that. She's just like following along here as I talk. It's awesome. Beyond that, honestly, it's a fine picture. Oh, actually, your eyes. Watch your eye sizes because they're two different sizes. It looks like Stranger Source is trying to flag me down for the wings here, because they are a little high on the back. But that can all be fixed in post-prop. No, it can all be fixed just by grabbing the wings, pulling them down, trying to have that leading edge of the wing, the top edge, if you have it meet up more with the back of the back, tends to help. Because their wings often hang slightly over their cutie mark, where you just have just the littlest slit over the cutie mark. Bring it down a bit more. That'll be great.
Hey, can you make sure to upload this once we've got all the marks on it done, so I'll have it
I
so I can
can.
reference it?
Yeah, you get the idea, Vitalmender. Do you have any questions about it?
No, it makes perfect sense. I'm just kind of watching and thinking.
He uses my sketches because I don't do like pure show style and he does, is that he has to change and fix a lot from my sketches to make them show style.
Then don't fix the sketch. Just go over hers. It'll be great, I swear. Actually, looking at it, the base of the ear where it starts is a little low.
Okay.
That's that halfway up the head mark, right? So I got nothing else on this one. Oh, actually, the muzzle and mouth. The muzzle's fine, but the mouth is crooked compared to the muzzle. You want to try and keep those even.
Okay.
gave her a mustache.
So I have nothing else on here. It looks like Stranger Source is trying to redraw the wing, but up in the top corner. Filling in the accidental eraser mark. Sorry.
I promise I'm not OCD.
But you are an OC.
Everyone is an OC.
Of their parents?
Mind equals blown.
But I don't think my parents thought me up. I think they just sexed, and then I came along.
That's usually wow. That's usually how it works.
When a mommy and daddy love each other very much or get drunk.
So anyway, and on that happy note, I got nothing more on this, so if you want, if anyone else has an image they'd like critiqued, now's your time to throw it in to the chat.
Hey, thanks guys. That helps a lot actually.
It's no problem. That's what we're here for. And if no one throws in anything to be critiqued in the next minute or so, we'll just go on to the free drawing, because that's hilarious.
I totally just realized why the background is off-white. Because it's my paper.
Dang it. You gotta get more bleached white paper. And then when you take the picture, you're going to use your manual, the manual color balancing, and use the white as your white balance. There you go.
Maybe if I understand what you just said, then I could try. Sorry, I'm not a photographer. I just take pictures of crap with my phone. Not crap ponies, but you know what I mean.
The base phone app doesn't allow white balancing anyway. Unless if you're running something other than standard Google Android. I don't know if Samsung does white balancing on theirs.
How do you know what phone I have?
I don't. I just make an assumption based on what most people have.
Oh.
Actually, if you had the original photo, you could easily tell exactly what phone it is.
Imgur just pulls the header information out so it doesn't have that metadata.
DeviantArt doesn't.
It posts it in the image. So...
Right. 1 second. I'm currently uploading something.
Oh man.
If anybody wants to have a nose yet. Well, I thought, well, since you're offering and, well, I plan on working on this into a digital form as well, I think might as well get any kinks worked out.
Alright.
Once my mobile decides to upload to Stash.
While he's doing that, I was just going to show you, you don't have to like look at any of this during the stream. I was just going to say, if you just look at those Living Dead, you can tell that I don't really do show style very much.
It's true. You do an adorable, slightly longer style. Also bubblier faces. Whatever happened to the black paper you had?
I still use it sometimes. It just depends on what mood I'm in. The lines are crisper and nicer on the white paper because when I draw on black paper, I have to use a really, really soft pencil. Like I draw with like a 6 or an 8B on the black paper because of the way that the lead looks on it. It's really hard to see if you use a hard pencil. And so you can get much crisper lines on the white paper because I draw with like a 2, somewhere between a 2 and a 6H on the white paper. I don't know. It differs.
You should scroll through your gallery. As you get further back, you can notice all the mistakes that used to be made and how you improved them. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's why I keep a little folder over to the side that's I take one picture out a month and put it in there so I can see all the improvements.
Channel, Chrispy, link to sta.sh.
There we go. That is the sketch that I'm currently working on.
Alright. If I could just get everyone to leave this draw pile, we'll open up the next one. Let's use Stranger Source and Vital. And you did save it, right, Vital? Because CopperCore wanted it.
Just did. That's what I was doing.
Bread product connected.
Hey, we get a bread product rolling in soon.
Bread product entered channel.
Hey, buddy. Just finishing up the last critique. People are still throwing art at us. It's incredible.
Just let me know when the draw pile's open.
Alright.
I even left the constructions lines on this time.
Alright.
Hello, hello.
We have the next critique up. Hey, bread product.
Hey, Brad.
First question I have for you, Chrispy. Where's the other arm?
Currently not in existence. It's actually been taken into another dimension and actually used as a bowling ball.
All right. Good answer. And now,
Yeah, no,
in
I
this
mean,
reality-
yeah, no, in all seriousness, I'm literally just working on this, so I say you just got it just as it is at this moment in time. But I thought, well, if we're going to start critique soon, I might as well get anything that is obviously wrong ironed out before I actually go around and shade it and then transfer it for doing in SAI. So if there's anything you can see that's blatantly obvious, throw it at me.
Blatantly
Please.
obvious, huh? Well, in that case, you should take a more closer look at the hat and ear, as well as the ponytail.
Where were you this entire time?
Hmm?
Come on. You could join us for critique. I swear, it's fine.
Well, you never actually invite me. I don't know when it happens. I don't exactly frequent the Reddit very frequently.
Shh, excuses. You're invited. It's 5 o'clock every Tuesday. 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I have no clue what time zone you are.
You should also look into making sure that your eyes are spherical no matter which way you look at them. The way you have it right now, the far eye is flat.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
Okay.
Because the way he has the other eye laid out is as though it's falling off the side of the head, which makes sense for the angle the head's on. Because we're getting just like the last 30% of the side of the head.
except the way that the contours on the eye suggest that it's a flat surface.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. All right.
All right, so we're talking about the near eye. So in
No,
other
the
words-
far eye. Near eyes also could use a bit more suggestion about this spherical form, but the far eye is the one that definitely needs some more closer paying attention to.
Let's say, how would I go about that? 'Cause I'm just struggling to see exactly what we're getting on here.
Oh, is this the are you in the draw pile thing? Am I able to join on that?
Yeah, you are. Let me throw you the IP. There you go. So you're just gonna have to click layer 2 or 3 because layer 1 is locked.
Alright, so the thing that you need to remember is that an eyeball is still a sphere, even if it's embedded inside of something. The eyelid is wrapped around that, right?
Okay.
So for making that extra big in order to be able to show you the general sense of what I'm talking about, I'll do something a little bit more subtle after that. This program is difficult to use.
It's not the smoothest, but it seems to be the only thing where we can do combined art like this.
Alright, let me give that another try.
So really quickly, I've just gone over the ear a little bit, just rounding out that little point. Generally the point was only shown in the show as the bat ponies, unless if you're trying and more stylize your ears to give it a fox style, where it's pointy, or dachshund, I think they also have pointy ears. It's your call. I've also extended where the base sits, so you can see the end of the blue line right here. I'm surrounding it in red. It goes past where your line was. The reason is it suggests more to the viewer the angle that the head's going on. It gives it that bell shape to it.
Yeah, I can see why. That's great. Cheers. Jen, I would say I definitely need to change the way our mane goes on behind the ear there. seeing what you've drawn.
I'm looking at it and I almost feel like, wow, that line was terrible. But it seems like up here the main boosts too much, possibly, or maybe I'm wrong about it. Yeah, Vital stepped away for a minute.
Okay.
Honestly, the amount of poof is appropriate. He does a little more exaggerated ponies for some parts of the proportions. Amount like a lot of poof is kind of adorable anyway. It's
Oh,
not
I know.
overtaking too much, and on the show they often do very large hair.
So 80s.
You could scale it back just a touch, like maybe knock 10% off the overall poofiness towards the left side of the image. Then again, not overly needed if you don't want to.
Well, I can definitely see how it would affect now. I'm saying it was honestly with the main on this one, I just kind of threw it together because I was more using this as a planning sketch than anything. But at the same time, obviously, it's always good practice to get in and make sure it's right the first time around.
This program's gonna need some getting used to.
Yeah, it's a little unfriendly. It has no smoothing options for your pens. If you zoom in and zoom out, it doesn't seem to believe in any anti-aliasing. Also, the pressure sensitivity for if you select size, it's not perfect. It seems to be very rocky along that surface. I'll be back in just a moment.
So, for product, you were saying I really need to portray a bit more of the eyeball shape rather than portraying it as a flat object on the side of the head. Is that the gist of it?
There's something I'm trying to do with this program, and I'm busy fighting it than actually showing something.
Ah.
channel, vital
This is something that might help with eyes. It's a little thing that View Rastaber did for me a while back. It really helped me a lot with working on eyes.
I shall give it a look then. Thank you very much. I say now that is one thing View makes very pronounced in his ponies. Is the what he is labeled as the eyelid to eyebrow space.
Yeah.
It's definitely something worth bearing in mind, I must say.
And I'm not saying you have to obviously not like copy his style. I'm just saying that it helped me to understand the composition of the eye as a whole. If that makes any sense at all?
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely makes sense now. But yeah, no, it's just something, well, I didn't really consider before, to be perfectly honest.
Alright, yeah, me drawing over this isn't really going to do much. I'm just going to do an example sketch. Right, so you have an eyeball, okay?
Yeah.
So you gotta remember that the eyelid wraps around it, right? But the thing is that depending on which way that it's angled, sometimes part of the eyelid will disappear, and other times you can actually see the side of the eyelid on the corners. And you also gotta remember that it has thickness.
So, yes, no, that's, yes. So I need to portray that it actually exists.
Now, this is where studying from real life will be able to help, because when you understand how it works in real life, then you can break it down, and you'll be able to do much more with like even more simpler things.
Okay. So really what I need to do is actually go out and do a proper study on the subject of eyes.
Yes, that would help you a lot. You also, now this might be a stylistic choice that you've made, but I would make the lower, I would make the eye smaller, and I would definitely have more lower area to work with. You don't have very much cheek jaw space left to define things.
Right. I say that's honestly it's something I never really work much with regards to cheeks. I say obviously I haven't really went very far into defining emotions through facial expressions yet. But I say it's definitely something I need to bear in mind.
Missed a comment from AKA that guy. Looks like Beetlemender picked it up though. Not Vital, just Beetle.
Wait, beetle?
Definitely Beetle, like a beetle.
Last I checked, she was not a VTOL. She was not capable of vertically taking off and landing.
I want you to jump up and down.
It would be pretty cool superpower now if you think about it.
I can totally take off vertically.
Yeah, maybe a few feet.
I'm just imagining her proving it right now.
You don't need to imagine.
You're saying I'm invited over for dinner?
If you can make it here.
A long way to drive.
Hell, I'm not even kidding.
Oh, that's what I'm doing right now.
Alright, so I don't know. Are you done your eye talking? You're talking with the eyeball?
Not just yet. I'm still trying to figure out where it's going wrong with this program. I actually switched over to mine to do a sketch. I'm going to copy it over.
Alright. I don't know if copy paste works.
Seems to.
Narv.
Right, I'll be right back.
So, chat, while we wait on an eyeball, how's it going? I notice we're still hanging around 5 members, which is pretty much everyone in here except for Art Hobbit.
Vital's making food at the moment. I can't hear you.
Hi, Vital.
Just looking back here at last week's stream, the floating tree, was he actually talking, or did he just get work submitted?
He just submitted work.
Ah, because I've never.
How do we move things?
You can't. There is a lasso tool, but there doesn't seem to be a move. Isn't it just the greatest piece of software ever?
Ah, yeah, you can move things.
Whoa. How'd you move something?
You just have to click and drag on something, on an actual pigment, not alpha area. Alright, so what you need to remember is that the skull of a pony is a combination of a human, a cat, and a horse, and a little bit of dog.
Okay.
So
So
you need to be able to reconstruct a skull in simplified forms. If you can do that, you'll be able to put whatever the hell you want on it. And that includes eyes, right? Because there are eye cavities. Now, I gotta warn you, a cat skull is hella creepy.
okay. Well, ready. So I say, so how would you apply? Well, we just essentially have to go out and learn how the pony skull should be shaped.
Well, it's not
From
just
drawing.
that. You gotta know how it's supposed to look on actual animals, right? You gotta look at
Right.
actual animals, see how they look, right? And you take that knowledge and use that in ways that you want to, right? In that approach, you are how I say, taking tools and using them in creative ways instead of taking tools and figure out how to use the tools in the first place.
Okay. So we really need to get a better understanding of just of how it's put together, essentially. So whenever
Yes,
you're drawing, you
and
can actually use the
how
tools.
to turn it in 3D space.
All right, well that would be a huge benefit. Yes. Yeah, no, I can definitely see what you're saying. Sure. That is a pretty cool skull you got drawn there.
I suggest looking at things like Greek statues. They the ones that made them, they really overpronounce the eyelid, and you'd be able to get a good general sense of how they contour around the sphere of the eyelid, of the eyeball, right? And how the eyelid itself is integral in order to be able to get that shape. Because if you do the eyelid wrong, if you position the eyeball wrong, then it gets like, it just bulges out of the eye, or it just sinks inwards, back in space while the other one pushes forward. You gotta figure, all that kind of things out. So, what I would recommend you doing is doing, say, start small. 15 skulls of cats in various angles. You can't do the same one twice. 15 of dog, 15 of horse, and 15 of human. If you do that, I'm sure you'll end up being, something will click. All right, Port?
Yeah, no, I'm actually writing down. Well, for want of a better term, I'm just taking notes, essentially, so I can apply it later on.
Well, if you need me to repeat anything, so you can write it down.
Funny thing, I've never actually drawn a skull in my life. So that's going to be a new topic.
You'll be able to figure things out, like where the hell the ears are actually supposed to be placed, right? You'll be able to learn, like, how exactly the side of a skull is on, like, a human head, because it's not actually just flat, right? The back of the skull is actually much wider than the face, right?
Aye. Essentially, just helps you get a better idea of the 3D.
Yes, essentially.
Sounds perfectly doable. Well, obviously with a bit of studying, but I reckon get my head around that.
All right.
And once you've got the whole skull thing figured out, and then then you can start applying flesh to it, right? Be able to understand a better sense of where the cheek should be able to have a better sense of the eyes, and how, depending on which way they're positioned and looking, the way different angles of the eyelids make. Like, if you angle downwards, the angle that the eyelids do is much different if you're looking upwards. As well as a couple other tricks, like since the ears are the back of the head, if you look up, the ears go down a lot faster than the face would, and if you look down, the ears will be higher than it usually would be, right? Here, I can provide some example pictures.
So, do you think would it be worth, learning what kind of muscles would control which parts of the eyelids, do you think, to create a much more, a sense of a more realistic eyelid?
Are you picking that up, bread product?
This damn program.
It is quite frustrating to do things in it, yeah. There's now a lady staring at Applejack.
Right. So you can see how, depending on which way the head is looking, the ears are in completely different orientations, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, this happens as well on like a horse head. If you look at them in motion and the different angles, you can see how the ears they can like swivel. Wrong word. The ears do swivel, but that's not what I'm talking about. The location relative to other parts of the body shift as the head turns, right? So the farther down that you're looking, you also got to remember to put the ear in the right location.
Yeah.
Another thing that you need to remember is to give it volume. The way they have it drawn right now, it looks particularly flat. The same goes with the hat. It looks like as if you've lost quite a bit of dimension. A good way to do that is look at references of hats. It's a Stetson hat, if I remember right.
Yeah. No, I say I've never been proud of my drawing of apparels, but yes, no, I definitely agree with that. It does look a bit, well, terrible for want of a better term, the hats in this. But yeah, I would definitely look up a reference for that actually when I go to transfer it into SAI here.
A final thing that I suggest you look at. Are you aware? Have I ever shown you the tangent link? I show
Sorry,
it
I
pretty
didn't
much
catch
everyone.
that.
Have I ever showed you the tangent link? I pretty much show that page to pretty much anyone.
Tangent link isn't something that's ringing a bell with me now.
Ah, yes, the tangent link.
Channel, bread product, link to curiousoldlibrary.blogspot.ca.
I linked it in the Picardo chat.
Yeah, I'm actually just waiting on it loading at the moment. Yes, I have heard of tangents now. Haven't seen this particular page on it now.
Well, after you take a look at that, I want you to look at your sketch and try to find some of those tangents.
I'll say the first one that would jump out at me would be between her ear and the rim of her hat. Like of a parallel tangent more than anything.
Keep going.
I'm just, well, staring at my drawing at the moment, looking for them.
Laser pointer is a weird thing. Wish it stayed up a little longer. Oh wait, there is a trail length.
Say, I seem to be missing them here. Which ones is it that you would mainly point out? I say, obviously, I don't have a very good eye for this.
Are you seeing what I'm doing?
One sec, I was staring at the, well, reading through the link you sent. Yes, I can see the ears circled. Well, I see what you mean now. The outside of the ear looks like it's running along with the inside line of the mane, creating a very long action line that isn't meant to be there. I see. Yes, and also the eye.
Something to note, the way they have your mouth positioned is incorrect. This, you'll be able to figure out how to fix that as you study the skulls and how they are positioned, right? But the way they have it right now implies there's no jaw width in the way that you've drawn it, right? If I were to draw it at a frontward angle, it would look
Yeah,
something
it-
like
I would come to a point rather than actually having a front row of teeth, essentially. Almost like a beak. That's the way it looks.
it would end up being something kind of like this. Does do you see what I mean?
Yeah, the jaw would suddenly become, well, move up the cheek rather than actually protruding out.
Yes, you're essentially moving the mouth sideways instead of downwards, right?
Yeah, I see. I definitely see what you mean there. What I need to do there is bring her left cheek out, well, so it doesn't angle back in towards the face and actually comes down away from it. Give the impression that there's actually a jaw there. Maybe move it more further left, for want of a better term, across the muzzle. Make it look a bit wider rather than being so small.
But yeah, I think that's enough for now about that. For little tiny extra things that you could do, you could like hold on.
Right, I'll say that's actually a really good idea. Adding more of a 3D shape to a ponytail rather than making it look like a flat 2D object like I did.
Where you managed to see what I did there?
You're adding a bit more depth to all the components of the main by adding well, not layers as such, but layered hair to create the impression that it's not a flat object.
Yeah, I'm also breaking up the silhouette, right?
Right.
So it's not just like a whole bunch of smooth transitions. There's bumps, there's waves, there's
It's a bit more fluid.
in a sense, yes.
Yeah.
There are things that are coming over stuff. There's stuff that's going behind stuff. Right?
Yeah. So it's just well, makes it look less like a solid object, like well, say it was looking before. Which well, thank you very much for the input there. It's much appreciated. And I say I definitely can see where I can move on from this point with this drawing. Obviously, in several different directions, I can obviously make it look more realistic by adding a bit more detail and fluidity to the main and forelock.
All
I
right.
kept mistaking the square draw tool with the select tool. That explains a lot of what was been going wrong.
If only he was friendlier.
But yes, well, again, thank you very much to everybody who's given me a bit of input on this. It has been greatly appreciated, and I don't want to keep Strangeosaurus away from his drawing time any longer. He has been awfully patient.
We're about to hit the limit on what YouTube will accept for a single length video for me.